Hi, John.
Hey, good evening.
I'd like to call the meeting of the Transportation Committee to order. It looks like we have a full quorum, and I don't see anyone from the public that would like to make comments, so we'll pass that. And we'll go right into project updates. Rob, do you want to kick it off, or?
So I'll be talking majorly about the stuff that doesn't require Gary's engineering expertise. So right now, when it comes to Air Street, everything is pretty much completed except for striping, repair of a B-box, and the raveling road conditions that were noted in a couple spots. They're still sort of wanting to go the infrared route, but they want to see what it does through the winter and determine whether or not they're going to have to core it out and replace those sections or just be able to make the raveling repaired with the infrared. We began to move the plants from the Hartmildis corner down there, so we got a lot of the plants moved over, as well as considerations for trees. In discussions, myself and Daryl, we have sort of a monoculture of trees going up Air Street with the honey locusts. So we want to try to bring some diversity and start planting some other stuff. So we talked to Lou about it, and we'll try to maybe work in some different trees down in that area. So that way, if we have a Dutch elm or an emerald ash borer, the next, the honey locust, beetle, that we won't take out the entire downtown tree and just start having some diversity in there. The rest of the stuff will be completed in the spring as far as the streetscape and landscaping, planters, all that. So that's the update I have on Air.
Leave that. Was that contractor kind of a problem, or?
They were, and they self-admitted that this wasn't their finest effort. Their project manager was either let go or left halfway through. They thought this would be a very in and out project that wouldn't require a lot of their time and attention, and I think they underestimated that quite a bit. Running into the concrete slab that required additional removal, some of the road conditions. I had them. I don't think they expected. They didn't pass the roll test on the southern portions of the street or the proof roll, so they had to do some base improvement. I think they thought they'd be in and out, and then delay, weather delay, rain, so what have you.
You keeping some kind of record on this? I know they can have a bad day, but
Yeah, we were making notes, and Lou has reached out to them because initially we had some problems with them. We were doing T&M on the water main set and a couple of storm sewers, and they were just trying to charge us some crazy numbers. And in talks with them, it was like, listen, like we could be charging you, I forget what the fee per day is over the completion date. We could certainly, if we're going to go tit for tat, we could definitely bring it back on your side. And they said they'd be willing to work with us and apologize for the delays.
Okay.
So, on that, IDOT's coming through and they're resurfacing the 14 from the south end of town through the north end and going east on 173. These were the projects that were called out as far as just their SMART, which is the overlay at the right time. And they are going to add the crossings at Jefferson and Garfield at our request, so they'll be signed and stop barred for crossings there, as well as calling out, we have a failing sanitary structure at Garfield and Diggins that they're going to call out as a replacement plan. Because right now, in order for us to fix it, it's smack dab in the middle of the road, and we would have to go before the IDOT detour council or committee and basically have to reroute all truck traffic outside, through Woodstock, because we'd have to shut down so much of the road to make that repair. So they're just,
They looked at right there at 14 and 173, where 173 goes east.
Bring your microphone down. So,
Where
yeah.
173 goes east at 14, there's a hole there that we keep throwing coal patch in, and it keeps going down. It seems to me there's something going on down there.
I'm hoping that we can have it cameraed in-house before then to see if it's a storm or a sanitary issue there. We have been using the camera here and there to sort of find issues or not find issues, and it's been working out good. So it's on my short list. However, the short list got moved to the long list with all the weather we've had recently.
It's on 14?
What's that?
That's us, even though it's on 14?
If it's sanitary, if it's sanitary down there that's collapsing, that could certainly be us. And I'd hope to fix it before they come through. Other projects, we have the road program wrapped up last year. Gary and I have driven around and sort of taken a look at the streets and considered them, what streets would be best for rejuvenation and crack filling. Came up with some general notes. Gary's going to prepare sort of what the expected quantities are, and then with whatever's left over in that fund, we'll determine what we have for skip patching. So, we have the 225 we're projecting for next year's budget to do one more year of the preventative maintenance schedule, and then, just whatever's there. Now, is it the desire of this committee for us to come back and approve skip patching locations, or we're just going to sort of pick the worst spots and spread the wealth? Once we know kind of what we have, we'll determine and then sort of go from there as far as quantity and location. Obviously, areas like West Brown are pretty bad, or areas around, schools, churches, high traffic areas is what we're going to focus on.
Any thoughts?
I mean, I think it's why we have, we have our professional staff
Okay.
and our consultant is, for your judgment on where the most need is, the highest need is.
I think I agree.
I think I do too.
Thank you.
Same.
It did pretty good last year, I thought.
Hopefully this year we'll spread.
Other than they ran out of money.
It's one of those things where they start patching and it's like, well, where do we stop?
Well, that's the truth
Yes.
of it, isn't it? So.
So we'll keep focusing on that. We've had the patch card out, prior to the weather changing. We've put down 16 ton of material with it. It's been a great asset to have and makes repairs a lot faster and more efficient. The guys aren't trying to pickaxe through cold patch.
So do you intend then for like a lot of the work that we've been sending to Majestic that you will be able to do
A certain amount of that I anticipate us being able to do.
around,
We're limited. Yeah, we're limited to 4 tons in the patch cart. So we can. I forget. I've done the calculation on what it would be. It's not. I think it's like maybe a 10 by 20 patch.
that's pretty significant. I'm thinking of all the patches around,
Yeah.
manholes
Absolutely.
that we've relined, and because they'll sit there for
Yes.
months before we have accumulated a number for
Yes.
them to go back. So my expectation is we would be doing that where we can.
Yes, and then the other thing I did too was recently, this was something that's been used in the past. It's called a manhole protection ring, where instead, if we have a manhole cover lid frame structure that has a short lip or catch, that we basically use meltdown thermoplastic and ramp it up, so that way we don't have to cut up the whole street to repair a little lip that catches the plow. It's a lot more efficient and less costly, because we're not tearing out a chunk of the road. We're just basically burning down a piece of plastic so the plow doesn't catch it. The guys are really excited about that. So
Do we have what are we using for compaction?
we have
Whacker?
plate compactors. The problem with doing the larger areas, I was really hoping in the budget process to get a a planer and a box broom, so we can start planing off and box brooming some of the stuff, and then eventually work up to a roller. But it just, funds are tight, so right now we're just gonna forego those this year and sort of keep the slow and steady pace. But the other thing that we're up against is when it comes to doing either skip patching in-house or bigger areas, all we have is a standard roller. We don't have a vibratory roller or anything like that, so our compaction isn't always the best. So the roller we brought out for the first time this past year, we did a small patch across the street at the wastewater treatment plant to expand the salt receiving facility, and that was sort of the test of the guys and running the grade pole and all that and figuring out what our dimensions are. And I watched a couple of brains melt when they're trying to figure out what tenths conversions to inches are. So, but that's basically where we're at for that stuff for next year. And then also the other thing I wanted to bring up before the committee is we have the sidewalk program in place for next year. We still have the funding, or we're projecting the funding for next year. One of the things I'd like to do is take more of the concrete in-house just because of the cost of it when you outsource it. So we're setting aside $5,000, which based upon some material quantities could be somewhere between 300 or 400 feet of sidewalk that could be completed in-house. Is there a project area or an area of attack that the committee would like us to focus on? You know, is it adding sidewalks where there are none, repairing sidewalks where they're missing or broken? Just sort of wanted to get a feel for the committee.
Well, I think, adding sidewalks, the challenge with that would be working with the property owners. Even though it's city right-of-way where the sidewalks aren't, I know in my neighborhood, and I think they're nuts, but they would scream if the city were to come in and put a sidewalk in front of certain houses to connect existing sidewalks. It's very weird. So I would favor continuing to repair or replace sidewalks, looking at where the schools are, at where the foot traffic is.
My recommendation would be a little bit of both.
Okay.
Especially in areas where there are no sidewalks on either side of the street. You know, it's one thing where there's sidewalk maybe on the east side but not the west side, but where there's not a sidewalk on either side, that seems like to me an area we should do some focus on.
And if we were to do that, McKinley is a big problem. Because kids get dropped off by the school bus on McKinley and then walk down the street to their homes, which is really
How many
disturbing.
feet did you say we could do?
300 or 400. Prices last year were $190 a yard.
So half a block.
Yeah, it's not going to be in-house. It's not going to be a lot. With the rest of the money, though, the rest of the funds will be used. You know, the $95,000 that will remain will be just as the sidewalk program has existed in years past.
I think for that small of a quantity, then it really makes sense to focus on where there's
Repairs.
like really bad
Sure.
repair
Fixing areas.
Yeah.
sidewalks.
And Don and I have talked as well about, making sure that in areas where we have permits pulled for sanitary repairs or water line repairs, that we start collecting a sidewalk deposit.
I think maybe you should, at least initially, do kind of like we're doing with this skip patching.
Just
Look
take
for
care of the
places
bad
where,
spots.
there's a few squares that are messed up.
Okay.
And go in there and, fix
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
to make
Like
them
where a
right.
tree root was and it sank down or something.
Right. And then your 400 feet would go a long way that way.
Yeah.
And then,
The only thing I gotta watch with that is I did this to them, one of the last pours we did, we had 8 or 9 locations, and it was a mad scramble because the truck was here with two guys, and then you're calling the next guy. It's like, he's headed your way, be ready for it, and then you hope that the first two guys finished their finished work before the next two guys sent the truck, and it was, I think by the end of it, it was chaos. So
But they got it done, right?
we got it done. We ran a little bit short on quantity, but that was he was all over town, and we kind of prioritized it in, this will be quick, this will be quick, this will be quick. Here's a long one. This is going to take a lot of time, but you should be done. So you're going to go over here, and it was interesting. The tools, equipment, and the speed in which the concrete driver wanted to get out of there was a factor that day.
Don't want that concrete to set up.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we were doing curb first, so we had curb mix, and then we watered it down to do flat work, and that gave us enough time on all the flat work to get it poured, strike it off, do the next one, and then come back and do all the brooming and the finish work afterwards. So, but we can do it, so might as well start doing more of it.
And just for the sake of any listeners that may be listening, this in-house, is this something you're expecting to do each year?
Yes, and
Okay.
ideally, the little bit here and there, this is more of a proof of concept. We're really sort of tight on staff when it comes to doing projects like this. But it's something that, the cost of sidewalk when using a contractor because of the prevailing wage is just ludicrous. We've also volunteered ourselves to do, I think it's 150 feet of sidewalk to tie the library front entrance into the walking path on the east side. So once we get through the winter and we get into the next budget year, Karen's already sort of pre-planning on us doing that for them. And we'll pour the curb at the end where we're going to be disconnecting the roadway between the park and the library. So we'll do the curb, and then we're going to do about 150 feet of sidewalk from the end of the library to the walking path.
I see. Well, this is something in the future as the municipal sales tax comes in, for the committee to consider in the future when we have additional funding, but for certain.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I personally believe that, that, and it is true that the sidewalks are the responsibility of the homeowner. That's their deal. When my sidewalk sank, I fixed it. And I didn't have to replace any cement. I had a guy come in and,
Mud jack.
he
Did a mud
jacked it up,
jacking,
put
yeah.
a bunch of gravel under it, and leveled it out. It cost $200 or something.
So, the committee may consider, and along with full city council, reinstituting a sidewalk replacement program that includes, a contribution from the homeowner so that it becomes a match.
That's a possibility, but as you know, we haven't had a lot of takers on that.
No,
What I'm interested in possibly is something like we have for the Ayers Street business thing, where maybe the city could come up with some no-interest loans for someone who wants to fix their sidewalk. A program like that, where you could spread it out over 5 years or something, to have your sidewalk fixed, wouldn't be a bad deal. I mean, I can see myself, if I was in that situation, jumping on something like that, like you would any kind of deal where they offer you 0% financing. I just think something like that might go, and whatever it takes to.
you have other tools at your disposal if you wanted to create a match program that would compel homeowners to participate.
Yes. So, because I'd really like to see us use the road funds on the streets, because they're in such bad shape, and
Yes.
they're critical to transportation, and but it's something we can, obviously we're not going to solve tonight, but
No.
but that's where my head is that I'd like to see us put programs together for homeowners to help them, but just randomly picking places to put sidewalks in,
Well, the other problem is you got one guy that wants to and one guy that doesn't, so you have the sidewalk in front of one house and you got nothing.
Right.
That's what you,
That's where, if you could devise a program that would require where you decided, we're gonna put sidewalks on, let's use McKinley as an
Oh, yeah,
example. The whole length of McKinley, you could create a SSA that requires the homeowners to participate as a match, in which then it would go against a property tax until that's paid. That is a possibility.
but I'm not, I mean, literally though, if someone gets their sidewalks, if they decide to replace their sidewalks, it's not like the street, you can't replace your street in front of your house, but you can replace your sidewalks. And so that's the situation we're in now, John. I mean, if the guy does it, I mean, I suppose if he wanted to put some green dye in it, there's not much that you could do. I know there's someone down on the end of Jefferson on the south end who put slate in, or granite or something, I don't know. And evidently we let him do it. I wasn't sure that was possible, but but I'm just saying you're going to get that somewhat of a patchy. And there's some people that still have brick sidewalks, if I'm not mistaken, in town, which really goes back a ways. But anyway, you're right. There's all these possibilities, but I just think we should treat these things a little differently, and not less importantly, but differently than we do.
I understand. I think at some point in the future, when you've got your road program really kind of situated in how you want to proceed based on what funding is going to become available, and all this, there's a lot of unknown right now about that because we don't really know exactly how much funding will be generated from the municipal sales tax to really kind of determine how you're going to attack things. So, the conversation's a year away at the minimum. But as far as sidewalks, again, when we come there, you may decide wanted to explore other tools that are available at your disposal to try and attack that problem.
I don't have specific sidewalk identifications identified, not for the program. For us, my major attack this last year was areas where we had done service line repairs, main break repairs. There were some areas that have been like that for 4 years, so it was nice to get those off the books.
The city did conduct a sidewalk audit that is still, I think, pretty valid. So, it might be an opportunity to review that to see. But I think the committee's kind of leaving it up to your kind of discretion of where it makes sense.
Totally understand.
If I got all that right from you guys.
Rob had mentioned the 95,000 for which we've done in the past for the contract work, right?
Yeah.
So we're still gonna do that this year?
Yes.
Okay. And you'll determine where to,
Myself and Ann, I think Ann was still holding a lot of the
okay,
the cards for that one.
okay. Thank you.
No problem. One of the last updates I have is, I think the last Transportation Committee, I was asked to look into the cost of installing the EV charging station. EV charging station Woodstock had put it in 2020, and they paid B&Z Electrical $7,200 for installation, which included like 10 foot of pipe run from where the electrical box was to where the charger is. They said the one thing that they had to watch out for was that the unit that they received was manufactured in 2013, and it was having problems in under a year. So the units that they were provided for free were aged. So it was a new old stock unit that had been kicked around for a while, and even though it was free had a price.
Is that what happened in Oak Brook?
I'm not familiar with that one.
With all the supercharging stations in Oak Brook, everyone went to charge their EVs during this cold and they weren't in charge.
Oh, okay.
So they had to tow them all away.
maybe a grid problem. So, other than that, business as usual for us. Those are sort of the updates that I have for this body for next year. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
So do we need to make some decision on the EV project?
I asked Lou, he said that at one point, he said he wanted to add it to the agenda.
Okay.
And Friday, I called in and asked him, I didn't get to talk to him, I got to talk to Lori, and they just said that they decided not to put it on the agenda, so I guess it's been postponed or something.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I think we need more discussion. I think it's premature. I think that I mean, we're a government body who's supposed to be taking care of as many people as possible, and it's a very, very, very small population right now that has electric vehicles. And so what's the point at this stage of the game, I think?
Well, and the private sector is starting to fill that.
Which they
need.
should.
Exactly.
I
So-
think, you know, let Exxon and BP and all those guys, you know, because I think at some point, I mean, you're gonna pay the money up front, you know, to put in the station, you're gonna hook it up. You're gonna have to pay the electricity bill, right? At some point when if this takes off, I don't know if it will or not, but I guess it will eventually, the government's gonna realize that they're losing a lot of MFT funds. So now they gotta make those up somewhere. So they're gonna start either taxing the heck out of energy going to these things, or start charging charging mileage or something. So, it makes me nervous to jump in right now anyway. That's all.
Well, that was my problem especially with the Woodstock one, because they put it at the train station. And the only thing people, they go into the city and they leave their cars there all day. So you got a car that charges in 2 hours, but it's there for 6 or more. And no one else gets to use it. And plus they're paying for the electricity and everything else. Now in Woodstock's case, they don't charge for train parking, but we do. And so that at least they didn't have that problem, but we'd have that problem on top of it. Is what would we do in that spot? Lou thought that, I think, but I haven't had an update, but I think Lou thought that we should put a charging station in the parking lot here, was what he was thinking. What the draw is that you hate to turn down anything that's free, even if it's something you really, only half want,
Well, the other thing is, once again, you're paying for the energy, and I know Woodstock pays like $3,000 a year just in energy cost. I'm assuming that's what it's for. It's on their budget line item for it. So,
Well, and hearing that it's, I mean, I knew it was a used unit, but hearing how old it might be.
It sounds like the unit was 7 years old when they got it.
Yeah, because I talked to Chris Teat, who's the engineer over there. I think I talked to him in November, and he had said that when they put it in 2020, it was a 2013 model.
Yeah, so, electronics and electrical items in a 7-year period, that's probably been obsoleted twice.
Yeah. On top of that, it wasn't able to charge anything, so you were giving it away too. And I think that's the one that they were planning on.
Having traveled in areas where there are a lot of EVs, typically those EVs, you have to put your credit card in order to use it, so that the cost isn't on whoever's supplying the station in terms of the energy used. But there was, a cost to install the unit. Now, I don't know, because I didn't drive the EV, I just saw them all in various parking lots. I don't know if there's a usage charge on top of the energy that's used. In other words, to help pay back the installation cost.
I would imagine there's
So
something to
you'd
cover.
imagine there's some kind of like an infrastructure fee or something that, maybe it's a dollar infrastructure fee, so over time you get paid back to maintain.
It's kind of the Wild West. I think you can charge anything you think you
Yeah,
can get away with.
fair enough, yeah. So,
You know?
About $25 each time. Pay it back pretty quick.
So that's all I got. We'll go from there as far as plans for the road and things like that. We'll know more once we start seeing that 1% coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
which one first?
So formal and official tonight.
Which one you want first?
The map, I think. So this map represents all of the project that uses federal funding of one type or another. So what I really like to see, in years past, you would have seen maybe one road on that map. So it's nice that the city is taking advantage of the federal dollars and that all the applications that we've been submitting are getting chosen and that these projects are getting to fruition. I've never seen that many federal projects in the city of Harvard since I've been your engineer in '94, so this is excellent. So I'm just going to give you a quick update on all of these. Diggins, which is the road in red up there, that one is approved by IDOT District 1. We're just waiting for the feds to approve it. The letting is scheduled for March 8th. It's going to be a quick 6-week construction, so look, it'll be built this year in 2024. If you have this little update in front of you, it's behind the map. Just wanted to point out the third and fourth bullet point, the fact that we submitted engineering contracts to IDOT to approve in May of '22, and we got approval 363 days later. The next one is Moringa Road. That is the road in yellow up there.
Can we back up just on Diggins just for a second? Lou told me that it actually got extended a little bit, right? It's on a little bit on the east side of the tracks now?
Just a little, just right over the tracks, yeah.
Yeah, but that was that particular block was the worst one on the,
It doesn't go past Front Street. It barely gets to Front Street, so it's really just past the tracks.
Just
So
to fix the
don't get
tracks
too
area.
excited. Moringa Road, that one is in the phase 1 process right now. Again, we submitted contracts in February, didn't get approval until August 31st. I'll call that September. So our schedule of submitting the phase 1 in May is probably going to be pushed back a little bit because we submitted the environmental survey to IDOT that they have to process and they have to provide all the sign-offs for. They go and check them and make sure we have to get a cultural sign-off, a special waste sign-off, a biological sign-off, wetland sign-off, floodplain sign-off. That takes them about 6 to 8 months to give us. Even though we collect all the data, we prepare all the data, and we do all the work and send it to them, we don't get an answer from them for about 6 months. So design approval is expected around August or so, but none of that really matters because phase 2 isn't slated for funding until 2025. So we have room to play there as far as when we actually get design approval. And construction is scheduled for 2026. Both those jobs, the city of Harvard's only paying 10%. The Moringa Road Bridge, which is that orange little dot in between the yellow one up there on the map, that is a separate fund. It's STP bridge funds as opposed to federal road funds. So it's 2 separate projects, even though it's all really the same road. It's 2 different funding sources, so we have to keep the projects separate. We don't have those contracts approved by IDOT yet, but the way the schedule lays out between the 2 projects, this bridge will catch up to the road so that it's all constructed at one time in 2026. That's always been
If that were
the...
not to happen, we could hold it, couldn't we?
What's that?
If for some reason one of them had run into some issues and they get delayed, we can hold them to go together?
To a point, because all the federal funds have sunset clauses on them, so you have to appropriate and start that project in a specific year that it was earmarked to be funded for. So, to a point. But the way these two lay out, I don't see any problem with the bridge catching up by 2026. The bridge is 20% Harvard match.
And if I'm not correct, that one's a problem for us at the moment because we don't have the 20% match, so we're trying to figure out how to do that. That's $1 million project.
It is. No,
No, the project is $1 million.
Okay, project, and then
So the other projects, we have earmarked money, but I think this one, that's one of our hurdles, so.
Whole bridge over there for now?
we'll just let Deb work her magic. 173 sidewalks, that was an RTA access to transit funded project. It's, we are doing the phase one right now. That draft report is expected to be submitted in April. What I want to report on tonight for that project is we're putting a sidewalk on the north side of 173. We need to get over Mokler Creek somehow, because right now 173 guardrail to guardrail is pavement. There's no room to fit a sidewalk. So our choices were to widen the culvert, to put a sidewalk next to the road and then the guardrail, or create a separate pedestrian bridge in the land off just to the north. Upon doing our research and investigation, that ped bridge is going to cost a lot more than widening the culvert, because the floodway and the floodplain are so wide there on the north side of that bridge, it would have to span a very long length, and that just jacks up the price of the structural aspects of that ped bridge. So it's much cheaper to just widen the culvert, put the sidewalk behind the back of the curb. So that's the one we're proceeding with. Phase two would be 2025 and construction 26, but note that both of those are unfunded at the moment. We'll talk about funding sources in a minute. Moving on to Marengo Road sidewalks, that is the project in green up there. There's a small little sidewalk on Air Street and then the sidewalk on Marengo Road. The design approval has been obtained for phase one. The intergovernmental agreement between RTA, CMAQ, and the city is done. So we will be starting phase two sometime this year once we get agreements approved by IDOT. And construction for that is expected in 2025, and those are funded through CMAQ. US Route 14 sidewalks, which is the purple line, that is to install sidewalks on the west side of 14 from Brink down to Airport McGuire. We put in an application to CMAQ this past summer, and that project was selected to be funded for phase one engineering. Approval letter was supposed to go out this month. As of today, the city has not received it, but that project has been chosen. And again, phase two and construction would follow, but currently those are unfunded. I'll talk about those in a minute. Rob talked about the road program. And then lastly is the post office parking and the steps. We've begun our design engineering. We had a meeting today trying to work out some design issues. So once we settle on addressing all those issues, we'll get that approved by IDOT because it's using MFT money. So they need to approve our horizontal geometry. And then if it falls in order, we'll construct it this year. That other screen, Mayor, if you could put up that other one, I wanted to talk about federal funding. So although there are a lot of grants out there, the three most famous ones, I guess, for our area, and the three that we get the most funding from are these three. STP is the Surface Transportation Program. That gets run through the McHenry Council of Mayors. And then the second one is Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality, what I call CMAQ. Those are for bike paths or any project that eliminates congestion some type of bottleneck. In Harvard, those are always used for sidewalks and bike paths. And then ITEP, Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program, is for streetscape and beautification on roadway projects. We did apply for Air Street through that program, and that was one of the rare times lately that we haven't gotten it. So you guys are paying for that yourselves. What I wanted to show you is each of these programs are now on a 2-year cycle. So STP and CMAC are 2-year cycles. STP, we just got done submitting an application for Front Street this last round. We won't find out until summer if it was selected or not. And that is from basically where Diggins leaves off all the way to 14. That's what that application was for, is to
On Diggins or on Front Street?
front. But I mean, where our Diggins
From-
project this year
I
stops,
see,
this one would pick up from there and go
I
to
see.
14.
okay.
Did I say front? Diggins.
All right.
From
I'll say
front.
On Diggins
Diggins
Street.
from front to 14.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Mayor.
thank you. I was like, we just did Front Street
Yeah, I know.
just like 6 years ago, so.
So, we won't be able to apply for STP projects again for another 2 years. Also, McHenry County is one of the new rules they instituted this year is each community can only apply for one project. Which for Harvard is actually a good thing because in years past, the Crystal Lakes, the Woodstocks, the communities that have larger budgets would put in for 3 or 4 projects and get 2 or 3 of them, leaving less money for everyone else. So I think that all the other communities were complaining about that, and McHenry County Council changed their rules. CMAC, we just put in for
That was a McHenry County Council of Government.
council mayors, yeah.
Or council mayors, yeah.
CMAC,
Which covers the STP program, right?
yes.
Right, okay.
CMAC, as I said, we just got the 14th job, so their next round of applications won't be until 2025. And then ITEP will be coming out later this year. So I'll be talking with staff if there's any projects they want to put in for that one. Maybe another block of Air Street, streetscape, or to be determined. So, that's my summary, unless anyone has any questions.
I got a question on the, you say the 2024 road program, $200,000 budget, that's MFT funds, is it not? And then we got the post office also this year with MFT funds. Same funds?
That was that we had in there set aside for around 14 sidewalks was MFT funds that were back and asked council to consider the post office.
All right, this is just engineering.
Yes.
2024, just engineering will be done this year, right?
Yes.
Okay, I got confused.
So it's no construction. Okay.
That's right.
Good.
If we could get the construction done for $100,000.
I was wondering that, but, maybe Gary was doing
Yeah,
something crazy.
it was, this committee and council decided the money that was slated for 14 sidewalks would be used to fund the engineering for.
Yeah, so I mean,
the,
really should say
post office.
2024 engineering completion.
Yeah, you're right.
So we know what we're looking for to try and find money to do that project.
Then we can look
So,
for money.
You know, maybe one of the,
Someplace
you know,
else.
the next round, maybe that's where we look for, CBAC for the next cycle to help pay for construction.
Of,
It's the post office.
that won't qualify for CMAC because you're not fixing air quality with that project.
Sidewalks.
Oh, well,
But that project's more than sidewalks, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
It does get congested right there.
Maybe they'll pay for the sidewalk portion of it and use ITEP for the street portion. Can't combine them?
we've already started it to do CMAC money or any Fed project. You have to go through the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 process. and we're already in design, so.
I see.
Those programs are a year.
Rules, red tape.
apart.
Oh, no, I understand. That's the way it is.
And maybe the property owner needs to pay for it.
Then your stamp will go up to 80 cents.
That took forever, Lisa. I thought you'd have jumped in sooner.
Oh, the post office doesn't own the property. I didn't want to disappoint you, Charlie.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one more. Gary reminded me, and I forgot to say something. Along with all of these nice grants and funding opportunities that we have, we will have to get a qualification-based selection policy written and adopted, so that way we can, that's part of the rules and red tape to use federal funding, is having an official QBS policy in place to make our selections for our consultants. So I'll have everything drafted and presented to the council for adoption next council meeting.
This month's
Mhm.
councilman? Okay.
There's no reason why we need to see it before that.
You're actually one of the few communities in LA that doesn't have one yet.
This,
No, yeah, I'm not
It's-
doubting the need.
yeah, it's very standard boilerplate language, basically. You
Oh,
know, like
okay.
it's the we're going through. We have our criteria of how each of these consultants is selected and what it's weighted at and who our selection committee will consist of. It's basically making it publicly known how we do this in order for
You're
it
basically
to-
codifying
yeah,
your process.
Yeah, okay, that's fine,
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
that's it.
Anything else from staff and engineering?
We're currently collecting that 1%, right?
Yes, began January 1st.
Oh, it just began January 1st.
Correct.
That was fiscal.
Began January 1st. We should see the first distribution late February, March.
Like April. Well, beginning of April. End of March, right?
End of March, yeah. It's like a 2-month.
It's like 32 grand.
I think,
Oh.
I think it's gonna be better than that.
We'll
I
see.
don't know if you've
Proof's in the
noticed
pudding.
I don't know if you've ordered anything online recently, but,
As many Amazon trucks are in my neighborhood.
My house.
we're getting 1% on all of that, so.
I was gonna say, I just bought something from Amazon yesterday. I don't remember that tax being too much higher.
Well, that's the beauty of it. You don't really notice it. But yeah, I noticed it right away, and I think that's gonna be a really good deal for us. And putting that to the roads is gonna help an awful lot. But we still don't know what it actually is. Staff is a little nervous about, counting your chickens before their ordinances. And, so I think,
That's not under the peruse of this committee there.
Different one. Yeah.
Yeah, be happy to pass it to
but,
transportation.
anyway, we're still gonna stick with the schedule that we're on. We're gonna collect money this year, 2024, and then we probably, when we do budgets for 2025, we'll know where we are, and that's when we're gonna apply the plans and the funds.
And apparently Marengo's working on
They are.
doing this too.
They had engaged the city trying to understand what we did to try and make that happen, and so they're trying to. But I should also note that the General Assembly is considering passing legislation which would allow all municipality non-home rule cities to incorporate a 1% sales tax for the very reason that we did,
Without the referendum.
without requiring a referendum. So it's a recognized need within the legislature The good news is we're already done and it didn't,
We can't add another 1%?
no,
Because we're at the referendum?
no. It just means that other communities will have an opportunity if this legislation passes without having to run a referendum like we did. But clearly our constituents recognized the need and
Yeah.
passed it.
And I'm glad we did it when we did, because, you know, the county is thinking about there's gonna be a referendum for that, and it would be a lot harder if they were both on the same ticket, for example. It would be almost impossible. So, anyway, that's behind us, so. Yeah. Any items for future meetings? I don't really see anything we need to schedule now, anyway. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned.
All right, thank you.